Hello guys, Marapatkav here, and a very short hiatus due to some technical difficulties and some scheduling issues. I am back online doing streams, doing videos for you, and all the things that I usually do. I will be including some new features both on the YouTube channel, both on the Twitch streams, and some other platforms, but we'll talk about this when the time is right, hopefully in the very near future. In today's video, however, I will be sharing with you 4 tips that had made Zbrush work for me. And my hope is that those features of Zbrush will help Zbrush work for you. I said Zbrush one too many times, but well, that's what it is. However, before we begin, I just want to say this is not a video that will make you sculpt better. This is not a video that will make you work better with the Z modeler brush. No, I will be showcasing 4 features of ZBrush that will optimize your workflow, or at least they had optimized my workflow in a way that I can concentrate solely on the creative process of my work without having to deal too much with all this technical stuff that, well, every 3D program has to deal with. So without further ado, I will hit the intro and we will begin the tutorial. Alright folks, first thing we have on the agenda today is to customize your UI. Why? Well, ZBrush offers a lot of solutions, a lot of different ways to tackle any problem you face, but it comes at a price, and the price is almost endless menus here. Sometimes they're clustered like this one. Sometimes you have to go to, to I don't know how many different drop downs, and this takes time. Like, let's say I have this here and I want to quickly draw sculpt something. I want it mirror and welded on this side. I will have to go to geometry. I'll have to go to close my zero mesh, open my modified topology, and hit mirror and weld. And this takes like 7 seconds, 10 seconds, right? Not much time. Well, at the end of the day, when you add those 6 seconds, it adds a lot of time, and you get a whole lot of time that you spend scrolling down menus instead of working on your model. I I got rid of this problem simply by doing this. This is my custom UI. If you want it, you can go in the description down below. There will be a link. Go to the link, get it. It's free. It's ridiculous to charge money for it. However, I don't see why would you want my UI when it's really simple to create your own. And how you're going to create your own UI is by 3 different things that I will very briefly talk about today, simply because there are a lot of videos on YouTube about it. And if you want me to create a video, just leave it in the comments down below. And if you request it, I'll make a video for it, of course. But mainly, you go to preference and you go to configuration and you go to enable customize. With this button and with this mode selected, you are able to now place things on your screen. And as you can see, I have mirror weld here. I have my split options, my subdivision options. I have polish, dynamesh, zero mesh, grouping options, and all those things that I use the most when I work, and I don't have to go through my menus. How you do it is once you get enable customize, you go to array mesh. You want to have the array mesh button on your screen. Just Control Alt and drag it wherever you want. And if you want to remove something, Control Alt and drag it into a screen. So for a better example, I have my frame mesh. I use it a lot. I don't need those 3 actually. Those are the various options of frame mesh, because if it's something that specific, I don't mind spending a little time in a menu. However, I want my mask by features button because I use it a lot. It's sometimes similar to my frame mesh button, so I have them next to each other. Once you are done, you go to preference, you go to deselect enable customize, and either save your UI to save it as a configuration file, and then store it. By storing config, you will store it so ZBrush will always start inside this UI. If you download my UI, you just go to load UI and load the file that you have downloaded. All right. Second things are hotkeys, and it's very simple to work with hotkeys. All you have to do is once you're outside of enable customize, you have to whoops, what have I done? There you go. You have to Control Alt click on any button you want to give it to have it mapped to a hotkey, and you will go to this screen. Once you control click it, it will ask you that you can press any key to assign a custom hotkey. So I will press, I don't know, column, whatever. And now I have my local symmetry mapped to this key. This way I have my solo 1S, I have uh, my transparency and Alt-T, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 mapped as my most used brushes, just like in a video game, my most used weapons of choice, so to say. And I have Alt-B as my brush menu, so I don't have to go here whenever I want to change some parameter of the brushes I'm using. And once you've done this, once you've set up your hotkeys, all you have to do is go back to preference. Once again, go to the hotkeys drop down this time and go to store. And this will store your startup hotkeys. You can save them as a text file. You can load a text file. Or of course, if you don't want, you can restore them and this will restore the last hotkeys you stored. All right. And finally, before we move on, let's tackle how to make your colors. I don't particularly like this orange that ZBrush comes with. It kind of hurts my eyes. So I've chosen these colors just because they're more suiting and more um, better to my eyes. So how you're going to do it is once again in the preference, you will go to eye colors and you will select your colors like this. If you want bright green, you can go to bright green. Then you want these colors to be something else, you're gonna go to blue. And there are a lot of colors. I'm not gonna go to all the preference here just because they are super uh, many a lot of options, but then you go save eye colors and you are done. Once again, after you do all this, just go to start configuration and you are there. There is one other thing that you might do. You can create your own custom menus. How you do this is you enable customize, you go to custom UI, you go to create new menu, you call this dynamic, and now you have a dynamic menu here. If you want to do something, if you want to attach something on it, let's expand our UI here. And if you don't want about this, well, if you double click on those two arrows here, it will expand uh, to a whole different side of the UI here, just like you have it here. And then I'm gonna go to dynamic, hold the dot until I hold this kind of a button and dock my UI here. Then, since this is my dynamic menu, all I have to do is go to geometry, dynamic subdiv. I am going to Control Alt and start bringing my dynamic features here. I'm going to apply this. I'm gonna go with the smooth subdivisions like this. I'm gonna go to QGrid. Why not? There you go. So now, once you have it, you can click this to close it. Go to Preference, Configuration, Disable, Enable, Customize. Go to Control Alt, tap it, press Alt J, and now wherever you are, if I press Alt J, I get my dynamic subdiv, and I don't have to go here. So with that being said, this concludes our first feature of ZBrush, and probably one of the most important, to make ZBrush work for you. Customize it so it suits you. Now this green is terrible to my eyes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go restore custom UI, and this will restore my last stored UI. If I go to preference, configuration, restore standard UI, I will be restoring the ZBrush UI that ZBrush comes with, right? So this was for customizing your UI, so you spent more time working on your model and less time trying to find your way inside ZBrush. So now let's get to the next one. All right, this next one will be particularly useful for those of you who do character art, creature art, likeness sculpting, or whatever. Basically, it is the use of the timeline as a method to store views. So there are two ways to store views in ZBrush. One is the zap link, at least two I know of. The zap link is you basically find a view you want, you go to document, zap link, custom one. Then whatever you do, whatever you work on the model, when you go to document and you hit custom one, you go back to this view. However, you either have to go every time to the zap link drop down menu, or you have to make it accessible by one of the methods we discussed in the previous entry. However, I don't like this. I prefer the timeline because it's even easier. And the way it works is you go to a movie, you go to a timeline, and you press show. This way, you have this thingy here, a timeline basically, and you press on a certain frames and you add a frame, and that frame is a camera view. So if I want to work on this guy's mouth, I can just come here and store a view, and as you can see, I have a dot. Now, next, I want a side view of it as well. So I'm gonna come to the side view of his mouth, press another dot. Then I'm gonna go to 3/4, press another dot, and finally, whoops, not D. Finally, let's press F to frame this whole thing and press another dot here. And if you double click, as you saw, the timeline expands and shrinks. You zoom it out, basically, zoom it in, but this is not relevant for what we're doing. So now, if you press each of those dots that we created, we get to a different view. However, you can also switch between the time frames by pressing the left and the right mouse, the left and the right arrow, just like up and down switches between your subtools here. Left and right switches between the views of your timeline, which is particularly useful because you will not. I personally, I don't want this stupid timeline here, so I'm just gonna turn it off, and it still works. So now, instead of spending time and energy and being all sour that doesn't go my way, the navigation is too fucking stupid, I can just concentrate on detailing his lips and change the views with just one click. If you move it, whatever you want, and you click those arrows, you get back to the views you saved. So once again, for those of you who do likeness, who do character art, who do um, creatures, this is particularly useful, especially with Spotlight, because you can dot your viewport with different images, the side, the front, the 3/4, the top, and then just assign different frames to each image, and then jump from frame to frame. So this particular for me is wonderful, and I know you don't say wonderful like that. There is only one suitable way to say wonderful.
Wonderful!
So when I say introduce colors early on, what I mean is introduce RGB information to your subtools. So once you have this guy that is still very early on, as you can see, if I select this, his main part is just some lump of clay that I have dynamized. What I can do is with the colorization, I can tap this piece here, and it gets me a color information that I've set. If I shift tap here, it will give me color information for everything. And now I can look at it from a distance or something. I can kind of imagine much more clearly what am I aiming for. I know this will be some kind of a fabric, the dark blue, so I know it will have to be wrinkles, so I can think how I'm going to approach this, if I'm going to wrinkle it now or if I'm going to wrinkle it later, after I retopple it. I don't really know yet, but it gives me a way to plan ahead of myself, which is always better because even with ZBrush, there are things that you do and at a certain point you want to regret it to do something else and it's too late and you have to go way back to do it. So this way it helps you create earlier impressions, so to say, on what you're aiming for. Alternatively, you can send this if you're working with someone else. You can send this to a guy like color with IDs, and you can say this will be kind of hexagonal, I don't know, letter or whatever. This will be plastic. This orange thing will be rubber, and he will get better idea of what you are aiming for. So how I do this is very simple. Let's go to this green, to this gray, and right now it's just this subtool. I am going to go to any brush and I'm going to turn on, I've already did it, as you can see, I'm going to turn the mRGB channel. I can also turn just the RGB, I usually do mRGB. And I can, I make sure to turn off the add just so I don't add any information on it. And I can get a color, let's say this light blue, and I can view object. And now I have this part completely different and it looks different. And the view object button is under the color menu. There you go. But since I use it a lot, I place it just under my color thingies. And then I want those to be the same and those to be the same. So now I can get the different idea and the idea is changing as we go. And I usually play around with this as soon as I extracted all the major pieces and then I continue to refine them. So with that being said, I don't think there is any argument that you this can hurt you. It can hurt you. It can only bring you much clearer vision of what you're about to create. That's basically it for the introducing colors. And let's move on to the next final feature that we will watch and we will discuss in today's video. Alright guys, we arrived at our last feature that we're going to look today, the smooth stronger brush. Now ZBrush has one smooth brush, but it has a lot of options to it. If you go to your brush panel and let's expand our UI and dock it here, you will see that you have a smooth brush modifiers, and in it you have this weighted smooth mode. And as you can see, if you hover over it, one is standard, two, 0 is standard, 1 is stronger, 2 is valence, 3 is subdiv, and so on and so on and so on. Now I'm not gonna cover all of those, just because you gotta go over each brush, try it and see what it does. Plus, if you press Control while you hover over, you will get information about them. I recently did a video about the smooth groups brush, which you will be able to watch if you press the I button on the top of your screen. However, today we are going to discuss the smooth stronger. And if you hold Shift to get the smooth brush here and move it to 1, you are now in a smooth stronger mode, which means that, let's bring it back to standard for a second, which means that if you have something like this and you want to smooth it out, you press Shift, you will smooth it with this speed. If you, however, go to your smooth stronger, you will smooth it much quicker and much cleaner and not so wonky. However, it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to go between standard and stronger every time. Plus, you don't need to. The good folks at Pixelogic has created basically each of those weighted modes as a separate brushes. And if you go to your lightbox, and if you go to your brush menu in the lightbox, There are a lot of things that you have that are not in your brushes. Here, some are just the brush I've collected, but this one comes with ZBrush, this smooth folder. And here you have all of those modes neatly created for you to be just to be quicker for you to use. Now the smooth groups brush, the one we talked earlier, is also here, but let's select the smooth stronger. All right, now we have our smooth stronger brush loaded, and we will always, let's back up a little bit, we will always have our smooth stronger brush when we press shift. And this saves a lot of time, especially if you're in concepting mode. You can just load it and start using it right away. If you still need a softer smooth, it's much easier to just change your intensity here to about 20 or uh, 15 in my case, or 24, whatever, and you will get basically the normal smoothing brush. Your smoothing brush is also still here. If you hold shift and press the brush icon, there is your smooth, there is your smooth stronger, there is your smooth somewhere around here. I just don't think I'm gonna search for it right now. But basically, that way you have two smoothing options with just one slide of the Z intensity. And if you have your clay buildup like this, here is how you smooth it with the smooth stronger. Here, if you drop to about 20, you basically smooth it as if it was your normal smooth brush. So yeah, for concepting, this is something very helpful, very big time saver, and basically it allows you to work with bigger shapes in broader strokes, so to say. And these are my 4 tips that will make ZBrush work for you, regardless if you are a newcomer to the program or if you have some work hours under the belt. I believe those features will help you in your workflow and in your process of creating 3D art. Thanks for watching the video. Please remember to subscribe, hit the like button if you like the video, hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when the new stuff comes online. All those things that YouTube creators say at the end of the video. But all that is secondary. Just because you stayed to the end, now you get to see an idiot with a chainsaw. See ya.